Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. They say pain demands to be felt, but sometimes it demands to be hidden. In the high-octane world of cinema, few pause to consider what it takes for an actor to embody a hero. For Wang Yibo, it wasn't just about stepping into character, it was about pushing his body to the brink. While filming King of the Sky, a film that explores the lives of elite Chinese fighter pilots, Wang subjected himself to an extreme level of physical training. Aerospace expert Zhang Qi later revealed that Yibo went far beyond the required protocol. While most actors were expected to endure 3 sets of high-gravity flight simulations, Wang insisted on completing 7. This wasn't merely overachieving, it was a level of discipline that bordered on self-sacrifice. The result was devastating. 2 damaged lumbar discs, L4 and L5, leaving him with a painful condition known as lumbar disc herniation. It's the kind of injury that makes standing, sitting, even breathing a subtle war against your own body. And yet, he never told anyone publicly. He showed up on set. He danced. He smiled for the camera. But when he thought no one was watching, he would gently press his hands against his lower back. A quiet gesture, almost instinctual, just to find the strength to sit down. What makes this story more poignant is the cruel irony of what was unfolding online during that same period. As Wang Yibo was quietly fighting pain with every breath, social media was erupting with debate over his facial structure. His name trended for days not because of his work ethic or his physical sacrifice, but because netizens were obsessing over whether his jawline was too square to be beautiful. One side of the internet dissected his appearance like a science experiment. The other side ignored the human being entirely. In a culture that celebrates curated perfection, here was a man enduring imperfection with dignity. The injury may have gone unspoken, but it was not invisible. To those who looked closely, it was there in his posture, in the fleeting wince behind his eyes, in the discipline that never broke, even when his body did. Wang Yibo didn't ask for sympathy. He never made an announcement. But sometimes, silence is the loudest proof of strength. Fame, in today's world, is a double-edged mirror. It reflects only what people want to see, rarely what's real. For Wang Yibo, this duality became painfully clear during one of the most physically demanding periods of his life. As he quietly dealt with the sharp, persistent ache of a lumbar disc herniation, the digital world was busy dissecting his appearance, not his struggle. His face, not his pain, became the subject of endless scrutiny. For 3 consecutive days, the phrase, "square beef face," trended across social media platforms, amassing over 320 million views. Thousands debated the angle of his jawline, the balance of his features, the so-called imperfections that didn't align with shifting beauty standards. While his spine was under enormous strain, the result of relentless high-G training simulations for a role he refused to take lightly, the world chose to focus on the lines of his face instead of the quiet agony written into the lines of his body. And yet, through all of this, Wang Yibo remained silent. He gave no statements, no rebuttals, no explanations. Instead, he continued to work. He appeared on set. He performed. He smiled when expected. But when the lights dimmed and the cameras turned off, the weight of that smile lingered like a mask that had been worn too long. Those who were close noticed the subtle signs. The stiff movements, the quiet moments when he leaned against a wall, hand pressed to the small of his back, as if trying to gather strength before the next scene. It's easy to forget that public figures are human. The pressure to maintain a perfect image often outweighs the need for self-care, for rest, for healing. Wang Yibo was enduring a level of pain that would sideline most people. Yet he carried it quietly, not for applause, not for image, but out of a deep-rooted sense of responsibility to his craft and those who believed in him. What happened during those days was more than just a contrast between appearance and reality. It was a portrait of grace under pressure, of strength without spectacle. In the silence between each performance, in the stillness behind the scenes, Wang Yibo showed a different kind of resilience. one that didn't need to be seen to be real. In a world increasingly obsessed with visibility, where worth is measured by how much of yourself you're willing to display, Wang Yibo chose a path that very few with his level of fame dare to walk: the quiet path. When devastating floods struck Hunan province in the summer of 2021, the country watched in disbelief as entire cities drowned under the weight of rising water. Social media was alight with commentary, celebrity discourse, and arguments over appearances, but far from the spotlight, in the muddy streets of Weihui, one man was waist-deep in floodwater, helping pull rescue boats with a rope tied around his waist. At first, no one recognized him. He wore a mask, stayed silent, and avoided cameras. To those who saw him on the ground, he was just another volunteer, tired, soaked, focused. But later, his identity came to light. It was Wang Yibo. He hadn't come with a press team or a charity banner. He came alone, quietly, and with purpose. Volunteers later recalled that he refused to be photographed, saying only, "Don't take pictures of me. Take pictures of the supplies." In a world where influence is currency, he chose anonymity, a currency far rarer. In one brief moment, captured almost by accident, he was seen lifting a shivering little girl into a rescue boat, half his body submerged in the murky water. His eyes, behind his mask, were filled not with fear, but fierce concentration and care. He carried with him not just supplies, but a small packet of antibiotics tucked into the lining of his life vest. A precaution because he knew he was allergic, but refused to risk delaying the rescue effort. None of this made headlines. It wasn't designed to. There was no staged act of charity, no viral video to claim praise. It was simply a person who happened to be famous, doing something real because it needed to be done. And perhaps that's what makes it all the more powerful. In an industry built on curated personas and carefully crafted images, Wang Yibo reminded us, not through performance but through action, that courage doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it wades quietly through floodwater, shoulders aching, heart steady, and says nothing at all. In the entertainment industry, where compromise is often the unspoken rule of survival, where popularity is preserved through quiet obedience and scripted personas, Wang Yibo chose a different road, one paved not with convenience, but with conviction. It would have been easier, even expected, for him to follow the path already carved out by others. Say what's rehearsed, do what sells, and never challenge the structure that profits from compliance. But Yibo seemed uninterested in simply performing for the sake of performance. His standards extended beyond the stage. During the third season of a popular dance competition show, a subtle request was made behind the scenes, one that would have handed the victory to a more marketable contestant. Most artists might have turned away, justified the act as business. But Yibo, mid-recording, paused everything. Without anger or spectacle, he issued a choice. Either allow the dance battle to proceed fairly, or he would walk away and pay the contract penalty himself. And he meant it. When the situation escalated, he went further, personally paying for 5 international referees to reevaluate the outcome. It cost the production over $470,000, and no one expected it. Least of all from someone known for quietness, not confrontation. This wasn't the only instance. When asked to follow a script in a setting that should have celebrated raw talent, he declined, even if it meant risking his commercial appeal. He forfeited part of his own appearance fee, instead asking it to be directed into a bonus pool for fair judging. Because, as he said, skill deserves the reward, not strategy. In a space saturated with artificial conflict, Yibo's insistence on integrity felt out of place, even inconvenient. But it was never performative. These were not grand gestures meant to shape public opinion. They were choices rooted in a belief that art should be honest, that competition should be fair, and that respect for craft should outweigh the demands of the algorithm. Where many follow the current, Yibo stood still, firm in the middle of the stream, letting the water press against him without yielding. His defiance wasn't loud, but it was absolute. In a landscape of blurred lines and carefully managed masks, he became something rare, a figure who refused to let popularity dilute his principles. And in doing so, he reminded us all what integrity looks like when it's lived, not just spoken. At the Dunhuang Academy, There's an anonymous donor who funded digital preservation for Cave 328. The wire transfer came from a remote branch in Tibet, a region where no major celebrity had business that year. Restorers say a young man often visited during off-seasons, always in a black neck brace. Inside the Mogeo Caves exhibition, a map for flying apsaras is labeled Technical Support, Mr. W. That same year, at a red carpet event, Yibo skipped the celebration party, only to be found backstage, escorting 95-year-old actress Wang Yibo to her car, covering her with a blanket and leaving a handwritten note on the dashboard. The heater switch is on the left. Driver's number 139X×X×X×X. Recently, at the 2024 Zhuhai Motorcycle Grand Prix, he retired mid-race due to vehicle malfunction. Within 48 hours, his team sourced ECU data, disassembled the engine for inspection, and brought in a German engineer to verify fault, not to clear his name, but to protect younger riders from similar risks. Off the track, he's launched an injury prevention initiative for young stunt dancers, with free spinal health checkups in partnership with 2 hospitals in Shenzhen and Chengdu. Quiet efforts, lasting impact. So yes, maybe his jawline doesn't fit someone's filter, but that jaw clenched through pain. That body bore 640 kilograms of force. That name, dragged through the mud, was never used to self-promote. In an age obsessed with looks, he chose depth. In a world hooked on filters, he chose truth. And while many chase applause, he lifted others in silence. The internet forgets. The numbers fade. The hashtags change. But integrity, endurance, quiet humanity, that's the kind of stardom that doesn't need lighting because it glows from within. If the story moved you even just a little, don't scroll past. Hit subscribe to Starwatch now, where we spotlight the moments that matter, the quiet acts, the real stories, and the people behind the persona. Loudspeaker like, comment, and share this video to remind the world. Not every hero wears a cape. Some wear neck braces. Thank you for watching. Stay kind, stay curious, and until next time, keep your eyes open for the stars behind the screen.